Okay, welcome to the Deece Plus podcast. We are going to be continuing our set review of Guilds of Ravnica. If you haven't watched the 3 previous videos, I recommend giving those a little click. That'll give us a little bit, give you a little context on who we are, what we're doing, how we rate cards, different things like that. We'll just do a quick little sound off because this is the second recording of the night. My name's William. I once, for multiple, not even just once, multiple years in a row, dressed up as a Walmart greeter for Halloween. Aaron?
My name's Aaron. I like to punch people in the face.
Very nice. Tyler?
My name is Tyler. I've never dressed up as a Walmart greeter.
Oh, you should try it. It's actually really fun. You get a lot of candy. Ian? It's just objectively true.
My name's Ian Klein, and I'm in law school.
Yeah, well, we actually talked about that earlier when you were busy doing homework, so just mesh well. So this is twice in a recording session where we discussed your overachieverness.
He will be bailing me out of jail when I punch people.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, if you go around punching people.
Alright, first red card. Arclight Phoenix. 3 and a red for a Phoenix. It is a mythic. Flying in haste for a 3/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast 3 or more instants and sorcery spells this turn, return Arclight Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I don't see why anyone would play this card over the other Phoenix in Constructed. In Limited, this card's amazing, but
Yeah,
that's about it.
in Constructed, clearly a 3/4 haste flyer, 4/4, pretty good. I don't think it has any constructed applications.
So this card's like, I think, fine limited. It's like good, it's not great. In Constructed, I could see a deck playing this if like you want to go ham on Jumpstart. Like if you're playing the think 1.5 cards, whatever, and like you ditch this and you just like play a bunch of like tormenting voices or such, or like chart of courses, maybe you can play this card. But like 3 is a lot. Three spells in a turn is a lot.
Oh yeah,
It's so many.
So I've heard rumblings about people trying this card in Hollow One as well, because they play a lot of like, they play the Goblin Lore, and they play Faithless Lootings, right? And like Collective Brutalities and such. They play a lot of cheap spells, and like they cycle through a lot of their deck. So I've heard rumblings of it.
But it's 3, dude.
I know it's a lot. I don't think that it'll work out, but I just wanted to mention that I have heard people talking about trying this card in Hollow One. So I thought I'd mention that. I don't think it's going to stick. I don't think. Yeah, I agree that there's no real home for this in Standard or any constructed format, just because 3 spells is a lot. And in Modern, especially with like Cataxian Probe gone, like if Cataxian Probe was still legal, I think there might be a little bit more conversation about this card. But with that card banned, it's like almost impossible to like realistically do this and have it still be unfair.
right.
In Limited, the big line of text in the middle is basically blank. It's just a 4-mana 3/2 flying haste, which is good.
Yeah, playable. So anybody got numbers?
I think it's like a 3.5 in Limited, and then
Yeah.
probably like a 2. If it finds a home, it's going to be good in that home. That's about it.
Had as a 3 in a limited and like a 1.5 in constructed. It just really has to find the right home, and I don't see one right now.
I'll put it as like a 3.5 in Limited. Like I think that the red decks are gonna want a hasty like flyer. Like I think the red decks want flying anyway, to like as just like a way to, get through the extra damage after like the slows new decks and such like come to the ground. So the red decks are gonna value flying a little bit higher. So I think this card's like a 3.5. In Constructed, I'll put this card as a 1. I'm pretty sure it's not going to see play anywhere, but maybe. People will definitely look at it because it's a mythic. People will be like, oh, this card's supposed to be good, so I'll test it.
I'm a little bit lower in both formats. I'm at a 2.5 in Limited and a 1 Constructed. I think that just on its face, a 3/2 flying haste, there was a artifact card that was in Kaladesh, I believe. I don't remember the name of it. And that card was okay. It got played, but it wasn't great. This card returns, but it has a very high setup cost. If you have the jumpstart stuff going, it's a little bit easier, but I still think it'll be hard to do. I think on average you'll do it maybe twice in an entire draft. So I'm at a 2.5 in this.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Barging Sergeant. That's a very octopus, occupy, porcupine's mind type name there.
Wow, what did you just say?
Oh, you'll have to listen to the podcast. We went before you got here. We went ham on that. Well, I'll fill
Were
you
you
in after.
recording then?
I was, yeah. Like I had hit
Okay.
record, so it'll be at the end during the bloopers. So
Okay.
this will probably
Blooper reel.
also probably be on the blooper reel. So let me give myself a editing second. And Barging Sergeant, 4 and a red for a Minotaur soldier. It's a common. It is a 4/2. It notably has haste, Tyler, and
It does.
mentor. And we dove pretty deep on mentor in the white section of the podcast, so we won't be going too deep into what that mechanic is this time.
This card has 4 power and mentor. It's like pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, I think this card is also just the format, and it's haste like with a 4 power mentor. It's super sweet for limited.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it as like a 2.75 in limited, and I don't think it has.
notably the
constructed.
haste makes this card essentially have 5 power, and it's like 5 power haste creatures have been historically quite good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it says 0 constructed applications. But
I'm right there with you, William. I agree.
yep.
Yep. Same.
Cool. Anybody got some numbers for me real quick before we move on to Book Devour?
Somewhere
I have
between 2 and
the
3.
exact
Somewhere between 2.5 and 3, somewhere in there.
same. So a 2.75.
2.85.
Ooh,
There we go.
2.85.
Little heavy-handed because I like the Boros cards.
That's fair.
Wait, are we talking about for Barging Sergeant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. For Barging Sergeant, I think he's like a 3 in limited.
Okay.
That's it close. It's maybe. Like, I could see that. I do like the mentor creatures, and I think that you're going to have to take the mentor
If it
creatures
didn't
pretty
have
high.
haste, if he didn't have haste, you wouldn't be able to, like, I don't think it would be played at all, but it would still have some applications because it still has 4 power, so it like gets to mentor your mentor guys. But
All right.
Book Devour. 5 and a red for a beast. It is an uncommon. It is a 4/5. It has trample, and whenever Book Devour deals combat damage to a player, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. I was pretty underwhelmed when we did that sealed testing last night.
So when you see you discard all the cards, draw that many cards in limited, usually that means like, oh, I get to hold like through these 3 extra lands, right? And then just like discard these 3 lands and then draw like maybe 2 spells on a land, and like I just drew 2 cards. This card's like a card that just drew me 2 cards, which is great. The problem is this card costs 6 mana.
Mm-hmm.
And when the card costs 6 mana, it means that by the time you have 6 lands out and you can play this, you probably don't have that many more lands in your hand, unless you're flooding horribly, in which case you're probably dead. So I think that this card is a little deceiving, because I don't think you're going to have that many lands in hand by the time you start hitting with it. That being said, it is a 4/5 trample, which is pretty big, and it can't be chump blocked that easily. And going forward, again, if this ever does, even if it remages like a land for drawing a card, that's still fine. Like, it's still good. It's not great. I think it's going to be a little bit worse than it might look on the surface, but it's still, I think I have it as like a, probably around the same as the Bardic Sergeant, maybe a little bit lower, like probably like 2.5.
Okay, I had it as like a 2. I don't think it has any constructed applications.
No.
yeah, I think it's strictly limited, and probably like a 2.5, maybe a 3 if you're a bigger Boros deck.
Solid 2.75. A little bit lower on it than Tyler. So
I had a 2.5.
I heard
You had it
2.85.
already.
No, 2.85
What?
was
No.
for Barging Sergeant.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he said. The same as that.
No, he said
No,
a
no,
little
no.
less.
Oh,
I said it's worse than that card.
okay.
Yep. Command the Storm. 4 and a red for an instant. It is a common, and it says Command the Storm deals 5 damage to target creature.
Premium removal.
This is Red's. Yeah, this is Red's premium removal spell in common. It kills basically everything. I don't think we've seen in common or uncommon yet that this doesn't kill. I don't think so. I'm trying to look real quick. I'm pretty sure
the
this is
flying
killed.
thing, the flying white convoke creature. Wasn't that a 5/6? That for 8?
No, I think it was a 4/5.
Yeah, it was a 4/5.
I think it was a 4/5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
So
sure.
I'm pretty sure this kills everything that we've seen so far. The only thing this doesn't kill is the mythic demon, but like whatever.
Mythics or
You're
whatever.
gonna lose that card's on the other side. Like, yeah. So this kills basically everything. It's an instant. It's 5 mana. It's like just 3 point, somewhere between 3 and 3.5.
Yep, I had as a 3 as well. Just a premium red removal spell.
Yep.
Kills most of the rares, so I'm at a 3.5 minimum. So
Yeah, you're gonna want like 1 or 2 of these.
I
Yeah.
play 4. It's like
Well, yeah,
Awesome.
you play.
4? I don't know. I don't think I would ever play 4.
I play
do you
6.
play limited
if I had
often?
Dude, not
Because-
at 5 mana. If it was Lightning Strike, I'd play as many as I can. But a 5 mana spell, like it's still a 5-drop.
I mean, but how many of the black removal spells were you gonna play in your limited deck?
I don't think I've ever played more than like 2 or 3 of them.
Well,
It's like the max number that I will play.
I would
we play
that.
limited very differently then.
Yeah.
Cosmotronic Wave, 3 and a red. Cosmotronic Wave deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls. Creatures your opponents control can't block this turn.
Another one of the incidental pingers that you mentioned. I don't think this card's very main deckable, though, to be fair. I think that maybe if you're like a really heavy, like aggro Boros deck and you just like don't have any removal spells and you need a way to get through, you can main deck this card. Like, but I don't think you're ever planning on main decking this card. Like, I think something has to have gone wrong if you're like main decking this card.
Yeah, I don't like this card in as a main deck card. I don't even know if I would bring it in against like a Boros deck post board.
You'd probably bring it in against Selesnya. Like, if they go super wide, right, and you just can't ever get through with your Boros deck, where you both just build up a bunch of cards, and then you just get to, like, sideboard this in and be like, your guys can't block, hit you for a bunch.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. So,
So,
with that being said,
One-
I'm kind of just at like a 1.25 in limited.
1.5.
Yeah, I would say a 1.5.
1.5 as well.
All right, we're pretty close on that one.
Hmm.
All right, Direct Current. 1 red for a sorcery. It says Direct Current deals 2 damage to any target. It has Jumpstart that we went pretty heavy on during the blue video, and this is a common.
This card's fine.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a
there's-
sorcery, it'd be way better.
I think
Yeah,
this card is
very-
very. I think this card is still very good in limited.
What do you... Okay, so what's your number on it for limited?
I think that this is a 3 in limited. Like I think that you can play more direct currents than you can the 5 cost instant, because it's 5 mana, man. Like, I don't know.
I think I disagree because 2 damage is not a ton. Notably, this does go face. Like, for more aggressive decks, like, it is nice that you like kill something early on, and then later in the game you just have like 1 or 2 of these in your graveyard that is just like your opponent is at a like theoretical 4 or 2 less because this can go face. I think I have this at a 2.5. It's just tough because like it's hard to ever get mana off this.
Yeah.
Like you're never. It's hard to like kill something cost more than 3 with this card.
Right. It is a removal spell, but it's not the most efficient removal spell, especially not at its cost. And it is
even
very
with-
red restrictive as well, so it's not very easily splashable.
Yeah, but so let's say that we're playing this card in our mostly red like Burrows deck or something like that. It still can function as a similar card to the above one. You have to 2-for-1 yourself, but you can cast it and then immediately cast it in your like as for jumpstart and do 4 damage to a creature and kill it.
Yes.
So you're not happy playing 6 mana instant, deal 5, but you are happy with 2 red, 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 discard a card, deal 4 damage to any target.
5 mana instant.
So,
Oh, is it only 5?
like I
It's only
said,
5.
Yeah, it's only
I
5.
was just trying to show you that this card can function as the other one too, but it has a modal ability to also just be a 3 mana deal 2. The
He's
other
saying
one is
flexible.
always
Yeah.
always going to be 5 mana deal 5.
Yeah,
So that's why I think you
it's
can play
tough.
more of the 3-drop than you can of the other one. I'm not saying that the card's
do
bad.
have-
It's just you can't just have like 5 of that card.
I do also think Jumpstart is quite good in limited, especially with Jumpstart cards that do something. Like there are a number of Jumpstart cards that don't do anything, which I'm like much less willing to play. But this is a Jumpstart card that does do something, so it does turn your late game lands into a shock.
Well,
Even if it's expensive shock, it's still not bad.
and jumpstart cards that get you other you can put another jumpstart card in your graveyard. So that's
Yeah.
you chain them. That's the whole point.
Yes.
Okay. Any numbers on this one, Aaron? I think you're the only one I don't have a number for.
I have it at a 3. I mean, it's not as good as the other removal spell, but it's very good.
I had it as a 2. I don't know. It's just not the kind of card I enjoy. I mean, it is good, but eh. All right, time to talk about Ian's new Chain Whirler. Electrostatic Field. 1 in a red for a wall. It is an uncommon. It has Defender, and it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Electrostatic Field deals 1 damage to each opponent. Ian, why is this card better than Goblin Chain Whirler?
I never said it was better than Chain Whirler. I was
Literally
saying
good.
no. I didn't say that. I said that you could play this in a deck that does not have Chain Whirler because it does a different thing. Like you don't want a 3-drop. You just want to have 1 and 2 drops. It's realistic. Like I think that this card goes in the Flame of Kill deck, so you can just do a bajillion damage in 1 turn. So I think that someone's gonna create a deck like that. It's gonna be pretty good.
Okay, so notably, this card compares to, I think the closest thing is the 0/3 from Shadows or Eldritch Moon that you could tap to deal damage, and then when you recast an instant sorcery, you untap it. That card had 1 less toughness, but you could tap it always, even if you didn't have a spell. So it's interesting. This card is an 0/4, which is, I think this is a good wall. Like I think 4 toughness is way more than 3, especially in a mentor world. So I think this card in limited is like pretty good. And is it when you're just trying to like play some flyers, draw some cards, do some weird things? This card like will block, gain like save you some time while you're casting your weird jumpstart cards. Like ping them for like 2 or 3 maybe, and like try to hit them with a flyer or something. So I think this card's good in limited. I disagree with Ian. I don't think this card is a constructed player. I think it's enough worse than the 0/3 from Eldritch Moon that it will not find a home in constructed, though.
And I think Aaron also has some ideas about this one in Constructed. So I think we're
I
tied
can
on this one.
definitely see this getting in a gutter snipe type deck where you're just doming your opponent with lightning strikes with this in the field and gutter snipe and just 6ing them at a time and just kind of playing some defense behind this. It does block Chain Whirler, so clickbait. Static Field better than Chain Whirler? I mean,
It blocks
Not
Chain Whirler
confirmed.
until they play another Chain Whirler second main phase and kill this.
but
No,
hopefully at least
but it blocked it. I mean, it did successfully block
you
it.
did some damage hopefully, and you gained some life. Like I feel like that's what you kind of want to do in these decks against the red egg mirror. But I would not be surprised if this saw play. I'm at like a 2.5 on this out of the scale and constructed, and I think it's a solid 2.5 in limited. So
2.5s all around.
Yeah, I'll do that for both as well.
I like 2.5 in limited. I'll put a 0 for constructed. Also, just notably, it's not in the set, but I'm going to put Gutter Snipe as a 0 for constructed as well, Could you just note that down somewhere?
Yeah,
That
I
gutter
will.
snipe
I
is a
will
0 when constructed.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
I will put that alongside this rating.
I just had to get that out there.
Gutter Snipe was a card in previous standards. I would not be surprised if it was again.
We'll have to do a standard deep dive sometime soon with everyone's hot takes.
Oh,
I don't
Oh,
think my
that's
hot
super.
take was very hot. I think my take was very cold.
That's
it's very
right.
standard. It's very standard.
Erratic Cyclops. 3 and a red for a Cyclops Shaman. It is a rare. It has trample, but it's an 08.
This
But
guy has such a big butt.
it has more text, don't worry. It's not some weird Future Sight-esque card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Erratic Cyclops gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is that spell's converted mana cost.
Alright, so do you know what you do with this card?
You cast Expansion Explosion for 1 million and just get them.
No. You just chain Apex of Power, and you just 20.
Yup. Apex of power, apex of power, apex of power, apex of power.
You can't keep doing it because it says from your hand. You only get the mana if you cast it from your hand. Unless you're like...
What if you have 4 apex of powers from hand?
Okay, sure.
Then you have 4 Apex of Power in your hand. You also have 4 of them in your deck. That just seems awful.
Seems
How else are you going
great.
to turn on your Erratic Cyclops, obviously?
And you play it with that 5 mana 4/5 lets you cast things for free from your hand.
Yeah, it's a 3/4. It's a
Hot
5
take
mana 3/4.
standard
Oh, it's a
podcast incoming.
It's worse in both ways.
Jeez.
Okay,
Wow.
but for real though, I think this card's a 0 in constructed. I don't think this card can see playing constructed.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
with you on
I
that
think-
one.
I think it's also a 2 in limited. I think it's like not very good. I think it's mostly going to be a wall that will maybe chip in for like 3 or 4. Like the dream is like on one of the turns you play your 5 mana removal spell, kill the thing, hit for 5, but like then it's just going to be an 08. I think this card's going to deal less damage than the average 4 drop.
Yeah.
I concur.
So, but it is a wall. It is 8 toughness is a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So I have this card at a 2. It's playable, but I will not be unhappy to cut it from my red decks.
Yeah,
You need to cut it.
I got it at roughly the same. I have it a little lower in limited. It's a 1.5. I just don't know if the card's going to get there. And I do have it as a 0.5 in constructed because I imagine Conley Woods or some type of amazing brewer is just going to play 4 of this in a deck, and it's just going to blow my mind.
Yep.
What's that
I
weird
agree.
treasure card? The 7 mana, like get a
Oh,
bunch of treasures.
It's 8 mana, I believe. 7 and a red.
Bounty of
Brass's
something.
bounty?
Brass bounty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's
Conley would love
Conley's
that
like, yeah, he's just gonna chain those with this and play.
Yeah. It also ramps you to Apex of Power. I mean...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ian, do you have any numbers for Erratic Cyclops and Aaron as well?
I think that it's a 3 in limited and a 2 in constructed.
You really like this card limited?
Yeah, I think that it's a 0/8, so it's gonna survive a lot, and the incidental like trample could be good.
I'm
I
at
think that
2
you can't. You have to play a lot of really big spells.
2 in limited and 1 in constructed. So
Okay. Experimental Frenzy. 3 and a red for an enchantment. It's rare. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. You can't play cards from your hand. 3 and a red, destroy Experimental Frenzy.
all right, I got some hot takes on this
All
card.
right, hot takes. Here we
All
go.
right.
I think this card is going to be incredibly absurd sideboard killed, like super low to the ground, mono 1 and 2 drops dot deck. It's going to be playing 19 lands, so the chances of hitting land off this are going to be super low. You're going to fill your hand up, and then if for whatever reason you hit 3 lands in a row, you can just blow it up and play the cards that you've drawn for the previous couple turns from your hand. I think this card is going to be super good, and sometimes it'll draw you 4 or 5 cards. And then the times that it draws you 4 or 5 cards are going to vastly outweigh the times that it'll hit land for you. So I'm gonna say it's a 2.5. I think it'll see play out of sideboards often, and it'll be maybe a 2 in limited.
So I don't get how this card's a sideboard card in Constructed. I feel like this card's only a main deck card or not. I like again with Flamekeld, like this card and Flamekeld do the same thing, right? So why do you need like multiple copies of it?
Wouldn't you
Like,
want a card that lets you draw like 4 cards in turn? The
Yeah,
top
but
4
isn't this
cards in your
card
deck
just
are 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop. It's drew 4 instead of 2 with Flamekeld.
Well,
And
Flamekeld
you got to
yeah,
draw a card to your hand as well that you can potentially play later on.
yeah, it's
So-
4 mana though. I think this card fights with Flamekeld. I don't know. I agree that they would go in the same deck, but like I think because Flamekeld exists, it'll push this out.
I think you bring this in when Flamekeld comes out.
When does Flamekeld ever come out?
Against any kind of deck that has a bounce where, like, if there's blue decks that are playing the blink of an eye, like, just if you get stuck on one counter repeatedly, you're never gonna be able to, unless you just repeatedly empty your hand, and then
I don't know. I don't think you board out that card against Blink of an Eye decks. I don't think you board out Flamekeld against Blink of an Eye decks.
I
not a-
guess we'll see how the blink of an eye decks.
I'm not a buyer. I'm pretty sure they just blink your creatures so they don't die, because like you're just putting a massive pressure on them. For limited though, this card's interesting. Like this card is either a 0, I think, or a 3. It's like either like one of the best cards in your deck or like unplayable. And I think that depends on your curve. If your curve is like you just have like maybe 1 or 2 other 4-drops in your deck, and your curve is all like 1, 2, 3, I think this card's quite good. I think this card's like actively very good limited if you can build the deck to have it. I think it's also easier to have like build this deck in limited than it is to build like the Flamekeld deck in limited. That deck was never really. It was much harder to build the good Flamekeld deck, and I think it'll be easier to build the good Experimental Frenzy deck in limited. So I think it's like a 3 if you really go ham on it and you really go into it, but like a 0 if you can't pull it off.
Yeah, that's fair. Any other thoughts on this one? Or numbers?
I pretty much agree that if you build around it in limited, it could be good, and just unplayable, I think, in constructed.
I'm kind of with you guys on that one. I didn't have too many thoughts originally, but after hearing you guys' reasonings, I unfortunately will have to side with Ian and Tyler on this one. Sorry, Aaron. Still love you.
I'll be playing the shit out of this card.
Hey, hopefully you'll beat me. All right, Fearless. Ooh. Does anybody have a suggestion? I know that's a Halberd.
Halberdier.
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 Okay.
Yep.
Halberdier.
Fearless Halberdier. 2 in a red for a human warrior. It's a common. It's a 3/2. Filler.
This is the most boring card in the set. It has 3 power. It's not a 2/3. A 2/3 would be better because it'd be mentored onto easier. So this card doesn't get mentored onto easily. It's a 1.5. This card's like just filler. The most boring card in the set.
Yep, I also had it as a 1.5.
All right, hear me out here. It does get hit by Coco for modern humans.
Alrighty, next card. Fire Urchin. 1 in a red for an elemental. It is a common. It's a 1/3. It has trample, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Flame Urchin gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
This card's fine.
Yeah, I think it's also just fine. It's not.
It's like a little better than a bear though, because I think it's not that hard to cast like a random spell, especially in his deck. And if this is just a 2-mana 2/3 most of the time, that's like pretty good at common.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it can turn your what's that one? Oh, the think 1.5 times, whatever, calling that dumb card. It can turn that into a combat trick. So
It's also a
decent.
1/3 for Mentor, which is like pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
I like this in the mentor decks actually more than the Izzet decks.
Yeah, becoming a 2/4 becomes like a real threat.
I've got it as like a 2.5 in limited. I don't know if it has any constructed applications.
I don't think it has construct applications, but I think I'll put it as like a 2.5, maybe a little more. I think it's going to be. I
like
think it
2.5.
might. Yeah, I think it might be the best red common at 2-drop.
I think this is the marquee 2-drop of the Is It Spells deck. Probably the Mentor deck too, so I have a feeling this will be a 3. I think every deck will play it that's playing red. And I see it at like a 1.25. And
The trample for Mentor is really nice.
Yeah.
So the thing that kind of pulls me back a little bit is that I do want to take the mentor cards first and then take this card after I have the mentor cards, not the other way around. But I agree that it goes. If this card goes well in both Boros and Is It, which are the 2 red guilds.
Yep. All right, Goblin Banneret. It is a single red mana for 1/1. It is a Goblin Soldier. It's an uncommon. It has Mentor, but it also has the activated ability, 1 in a red, Goblin Banneret gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Well said, because this card good and constructed.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. The fact that it's a mana sink, it's a 1-drop in the Mentor deck. The fact that even if your Mentor creatures sort of outgrow the 1/1, which it will often do, I don't know why I phrased it that way, that was weird, but the fact that you can just pump mana into it, the threat of activation is just so absurd. The fact that you just pump it into a 3/1, 5/1, that's about the limit of my math capabilities, but the fact that you can just keep pumping it is fantastic. This card is an easy slam dunk in constructed. I think it's going to be like a 3.5 in constructed. The card is very good.
it also works well with other Mentor creatures, because the other Mentor creatures will pump this, and then you can pump this, I think, with the trigger on the stack, right?
No, you want to go back and listen to the white version of this podcast. We go a little bit deep on Mentor. It has to be legal on both target and resolution. So
Okay.
if this Mentor trigger happens, it can't even target something with higher power.
I think this card is the best red 1-drop in constructed after this set comes out.
I agree.
Yeah, it's
And-
probably accurate.
And I think that it has just it does everything you want in both constructed and limited in a deck that would want a 1-drop Mentor card.
Yeah.
I think it's just pretty obvious how powerful it is. I think it's a 4 in both.
Ooh, 4 in both. I have it as a 3.5, so we're not that far off. But
I think it's okay to put this as a 4 in constructed, because I do think this is going to be a staple and standard for like the red decks.
yeah,
It's just going to be the staple 1-drop in all the red decks because it's kind of just nutty.
I don't know if it's a 4 in limited, because like I don't think I'll first pick this card all the time. I won't be upset to first pick this card though, for sure.
right.
I would 100% first pick this card.
I'll put this as a 3.5 in limited. We talked about how good 1-drops were in white, especially in like the Boros colors, and we talked and like this is easily the best 1-drop in this format.
Yeah.
Easily, like
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything.
I think that you first pick this card unless there's like a busted rare or mythic.
Okay, interesting.
I have it as a constructed, so
Oh, you kind of broke out there for a second. You mind repeating that?
3 in limited, 4 in constructed.
Gotcha. Goblin Crater Maker. It is 1 in a red for a Goblin Warrior. It's an uncommon. It is a 2/2, and it has the activated ability 1, sacrifice Goblin Crater Maker, choose 1. Either Goblin Crater Maker deals 2 damage to target creature, or destroy target colorless non-land permanent.
Hot take: this card will see play in an eternal format in the next 3 years.
That's not a hot take. That's
That-
like every Goblins player I've heard has said this card is gonna like replace
No.
Starfire.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a tribal abrade almost.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it hits colorless permanents, non-land permanents, instead of just artifacts, so it's even better.
So it kills
Yeah, 'cause it-
Karn of every variety, including old school Karn. It hits Ugin. It hits just so many things.
You're
So-
so dead. You're so dead if any of those resolve. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
but, okay. Notably in Legacy, so this card again this card will see play in Legacy Goblins. How playable Legacy Goblins is still up in the air. This card does not make Legacy Goblins infinitely better, but it does go in the deck. This card kills.
It kills the Ether
GT
Vial in the mirror.
Well, it kills GT, which is actually like,
Ooh, yeah.
like Goblins really couldn't beat a GT before, and now this is like a main deck answer you have to GT. It also kills like Thought Knot Seer. It kills Endbringer, which is also a card that Goblins like could not beat before.
Ooh.
It like kills all the Eldrazi from the Eldrazi Stompy deck. It kills most of the creatures from Death and Taxes. It kills Delver of Secrets in a race. It does a lot.
Yeah.
Like the 2 damage and destroying a colorless non-land permanent in Legacy is a lot. It kills a lot of permanents that Goblins had trouble with previously. So I do think that this card does a lot for that deck. It gets hit off Recruiter. You can vial it in, all that good stuff. You can make it uncounterable with Cavern as well. So a lot of good stuff there. I want to talk about it in Limited real quick. The fact that this is a 2/2 for 2, that you can sack it to deal 2 damage to a creature, means that you can chump block this and then still end up like if you're in a spot where you have to chump block a 5/5, you can then sack this and still trade for another creature while still chump blocking. So in a racing scenario, which in Izzet and Boros are both going to be in racing scenarios a lot, I think this is very good in that spot. The Destroying Colorless non-land permanent, I think there are a total of 6 artifacts in the set, and they're all uncommon. Or no, there's like maybe like 2 rares, and the rest are uncommons. So there's not a ton of artifacts here.
They're all pretty bad too.
They're all not great. So the colorless permanent is not really going to be a thing, but the 2 damage is like pretty relevant. It's also an onboard trick that like if your opponent can't like use a giant growth on their 2/2 ever with this card's out and you have a mana up, because they'll just blow you out.
There are 12 artifacts, by the way. I cheated and scrolled down on the spreadsheet.
Oh, there's 12. Okay, I know there's not a ton.
Well, I think you were forgetting the lockets.
Oh, I was
right.
forgetting the lockets. I
That's
was
actually
forgetting the
relevant
lockets.
then, 'cause
Right.
the lockets I think are going to see a lot of play.
I do, but I don't think you're going to want to use this card to blow up the lockets a lot of the times.
That's fair.
I think you'd rather kill a creature.
It blows up chromatic lanterns, so I will be very sad if somebody plays this against me.
It does. There are some good artifacts that become huge. Like there's like 2 golems that like get big. That this does kill, but like again, that's going to come up not very often.
Right.
So I think in Limited, this card's probably maybe a 3, maybe a little bit less than a 3. It is like kind of just a bear with upside, but it is good.
Yeah.
But again, in Constructed, mostly Legacy, it's going to be C play for sure. And then if there's a Goblins deck in Standard, I would not be shocked if this comes up play.
Yeah. I've got it as a
Yeah.
3.5 in Constructed and a 3 in Limited.
I'm a 3 on both. I wouldn't put it higher than a 3 right now. I think you need a little bit more to see how the metas of these things work out for it to actually see a lot of play. But
Goblin Locksmith. 1 in a red for a Goblin Rogue. It is a 2/1, and it says whenever a Goblin Locksmith attacks, creatures with Defender can't block this turn.
I think this
Can
card
you
is a
please
really, really
Oh.
cool sideboard limited card.
Can you please read the flavor text? It's important.
Yeah, as soon as I get back up to it, because I hit the wrong button on my keyboard. I just straight up, like, jumped. Okay. And here's the flavor text at the request of Tyler. He's got more finesse than most goblins. He smashes window with his fist rather than his forehead. Arrestor Polgar.
I like goblins. They make me laugh. This
Yeah.
one especially. I really like the art where he's like he's looking like so meticulously at the doorknob with like a little thing trying to pick the lock, and then like his fist is just slamming through the door.
Yep.
It's pretty.
I think there are maybe 2, maybe 3 defenders in this limited format, but the fact that it is a 2/1 for 2 makes me put it at like a 1.5. I will say that this card is probably an easy 4 in constructed when 5-color walls becomes the deck to beat, because this deck, I mean, this can just power in there and just blow you out for 2 damage every turn. Crazy.
Wow.
So
wow.
I disagree with that in constructed, only because Arceus does not have defender, so it can block this.
Oh, that's true. But by that point, I
And
mean,
it has
you're already being dealt like,
So
I don't know, like 4 damage, 5 damage. How do you ever recover?
Wow.
Wow.
yeah. So that's the only reason. Otherwise, I'd agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
1.5.
Yep, 1.5
it's a
unlimited.
tiger. It's a bear, so I'm gonna rate it a 2.
Oh,
because I
a 2.
rate bears 2.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah,
bear.
I think it's a 2 just because you could sideboard it in if your opponent has like a million walls. That's about it.
It's a bear.
There's
are 2s.
There aren't.
I'm nothing if I'm not consistent.
Listen, if there's one common wall, you can just have like 8 of them in your deck if you try hard enough.
Sure. All right.
There's 2 we've been through so far. Or only, whatever. We'll move on.
Falcon Punch. 3 in a red
Yes.
for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target player, and it has Jumpstart.
William, what was the name of this card?
Falcon Punch.
Oh, there we go. That sounded better this time.
You're welcome. I even did the uppercut.
It was your southern accent, and it
Oh,
kind of threw it off
yeah.
for me.
Excuse me. And he's
think
even
this
wearing
card's actually.
pink.
I think this card's really good in limited. If you have a deck that has a lot of creatures with high power, but it's kind of like unplayable outside of that. It's kind of cool that it's like a fling that doesn't sack your creature, right?
Yeah, but fling can hit creatures as well, not just face.
But when do you ever fling your creature at a creature? You always hit
In
face.
limited, you
Face
would.
is
No,
the place.
in constructed, you always hit face, but in limited, it was like pretty common to like they would like put a removal spell at your guy, and you'd like fling sack it to kill their guy.
Face is the place.
I don't. So we've been through a lot of the set. We haven't been through green yet, which green is probably going to have the biggest creatures. But of the set we've seen so far, we've seen a lot of low power,
Right.
like a lot. We have not seen a lot of high power in the set. We've seen a few like 4s, but they're like pretty expensive. And like I don't want a bunch of like those like 4 and 5 drops to go with this 4 drop, especially if you're like trying to be aggressive and like deal face. I don't know. I don't think this card's good. I think that maybe if you're an Izzet deck and you care a lot about having just a bunch of spells, especially spells with Jumpstart, and like you're kind of this like tempo-y aggro Izzet deck, maybe you can play this card. But I think
Alright,
that
I figured it out. What you do
Alright.
is you play the
Cyclops?
08, yeah, you play the Cyclops, and then
I was
once you
waiting
get
for
to 8 mana, you can do 12 damage and you win.
Alrighty, I'm gonna let Pay the Toll and Ian work on the deck together because I have absolutely zero interest in that. I've got it like a 1 in the limited, and I don't think constructed playable whatsoever.
I'll put it as a 1.5 just because I think that there are some Izzet decks that might want to play this in the main mix.
Danny Trejo would be really disappointed in you all. After
This
your
card's
turn
good with
creature
Gigantosaurus.
It is very good
That
with
is-
Gigantosaurus.
You would be able to play this on
Fair.
turn 4 with a red mana.
Very true. Very good point. I'm sorry for disrespecting Danny Trejo like that.
That's right.
Apologize.
Card is clearly a 5, which doesn't even exist on our scale. Praise be to Danny Trejo.
Praise be.
Praise be.
Yep.
So time for what was the card that's just rotating? This dragon.
Glorybringer.
Glorybringer. Yep, time for Glorybringer. So 4 in a red for a 3/3 flyer. It's a dragon. It's an uncommon. Weirdly enough, this card has a misprint. It says whenever a Thunderkite Whelp attacks, which I think this card is called Glorybringer, it deals 1 damage to target creature defending player controls. Oh, it's only 1 damage? Yeah, this is not Glorybringer whatsoever.
It must have a really weird typo because you said Thunderkite Whelp when it's actually Hellkite Whelp.
Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah. Sorry,
That's
I was
quite the typo.
I was thinking Thunderbreak Regent for some reason. My mind is on dragons. Too much cube. I must be playing Moto in the background or something.
So yeah, this card has no constructed applications, even with your Sarkans. Don't care. Can't play this card with Sarkin standard. In limited, this card's pretty good.
Yeah.
3/3's not huge, but it does get through a bunch of the 4 toughness like walls that have reach, which I think there's a couple. Oh, there's a spider that we'll see later. But
I think that it's just nice that it kills like the 1 toughness stuff. So like the 3 mana 3/1 white card that has mentor. Like this card can kill it, which is cool.
It can kill your things with the wall, the unblockable wall guy.
The 3/1 with lifelink, the exile something that comes to play.
Yeah, we've talked about incidental pingers. This is another one. Again, this one's uncommon, but this one's very playable.
Yep.
Like, this card will always see play in your deck. It's quite good. I have it at like probably a 3.5. I think
exactly
I like I like flyers, and this is a flyer that does something. Even though the something's not huge, it's not nothing.
Yep.
Ian?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think it's like a 3 in limited, and then 0 in constructed.
Yep. Have it as a 0.5
I'm at
in
3.25 and a 1 in constructed because it has a relative creature type, which is dragon. And
you know, I didn't even know you're going to go there, but I'm glad that I like pre-emphasized it with no Sarkin.
it has a relative creature type. Thank you.
So, no.
Inescapable Blaze. 4 red for an instant. It is uncommon. It says this spell can't be countered. Inescapable Blaze deals 6 damage to any target. We were very
I'm gonna
high
die this
up.
card.
Yeah, we were very high up on the 5 mana card that could only hit creatures. This one isn't as easily splashable, but this one does go face, which is what Ian was clamoring for.
Yeah, I think that you play like at least one of these in every red deck in this lift format. I think this card's great.
This card is great. I think you're gonna. So to be fair, I think you're gonna hit creatures more often than you hit players.
Yep.
But this not being able to be countered is not irrelevant. Disdainful Stroke is a common in this format.
Nope.
And there's like a couple counter spells. I think there's 3 at least that I can think off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly irrelevant, but it's not 100% irrelevant. 6, like we talk about how 5 killed everything. Like 6 kills everything and the demon.
That's right.
Like,
yep.
So this card kills everything. I'm going to play a match of limited where my opponent's on an aggressive red deck. I'm going to stabilize at 12, think I'm fine, and they're going to go end of turn, Inescapable Blaze your face, untap, Inescapable Blaze your face again, and I'm going to have a Disdainful Stroke and scoop my cards.
Yep. For sure. It's also
I
really
think
good
that
with
you
your
can't play
Cyclops.
more than 2 of them though. Like, 2 is probably the max.
Yep. So, numbers? I think everybody's said their thoughts on this one, right? Numbers?
I think it's like a
3.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 probably, yeah.
I also had it as a 3.5.
3.5 unlimited,
Ooh.
unplayable, and constructed.
Right. All right, Lava Coil, 1 in a red for a sorcery. It is an uncommon. Lava Coil deals 4 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead.
I do think it's cool that
This is the
the
new
art...
roast.
Yeah, well, the art on this card looks like the art on the original Roast, kind of.
Yeah,
It's like
pretty similar.
it's like a character, like I think it was a Naga in the original Roast, but it's like a character with their arms up with like flame coming up at them, like going like, I'm on fire. Like it is like the art, and they're like in the similar position. They're both facing in the same direction. They're both like facing to the left, kind of. Like it's funny how the art is kind of similar. That being said, this card is very standard playable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
William's on it.
The Exile Clause is quite relevant for things like Rekindling Phoenix. This would have been nice against Scraptooth Scoundrel, but whatever, it's gone.
Right.
You don't have to deal with that anymore. But
Good against
again, there's plenty.
Nicol Bolas. Good against. I mean, it's just an efficient removal spell that just hits so
Yeah,
much.
4
in the
damage for
format.
2 mana is good. I think that the Jeskai decks will play this for sure. This card will be standard playable. It's probably going to be like a 3 in standard. It's not going to be like a 4 of. It's not going to be like always played, but It might be a sideboard card in some like more aggressive red decks, but it will definitely show up in standard. So I'll have it as like a 3 in standard. And in limited, this card's a 3.5, maybe even a 4, because the fact that you can, this kills again. We've noted that the sizing of the creatures is not huge in this format.
Right.
So this being able to kill something, basically anything for 2 mana, is really good in the red decks, because the red decks are all about tempo, because it's Boros and Izzet. So being able to cast this and double spell with it is important.
Ian, do you have any controversial thoughts on this? I can't remember what your thoughts were on this card.
No, this card's great. I think it's like a 4 in constructed and limited.
Cool. So the fact that we all kind of agreed on that one and blew through it quickly means that I can read this flavor text, because I've never read it before, and it's kind of funny. Commander, we took the Demir spies, and we took her ashes into custody.
That's actually kind of good.
That's pretty good. All right. Legion
Portamir.
War Boss. 2 in a red. It's a rare. It's a goblin soldier. It has a mentor. It is a 2/2. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That creature gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. People have compared this card to Goblin Rabblemaster.
Yeah, that's the obvious comparison. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. Like, so they're both 3 mana 2/2 goblins that make goblins, and the goblins they make gain haste and have to attack that turn. So that's a lot of things to have in common. That being said, they are different cards. The mentor ability is quite different than the Rabblemaster itself becoming big. Another notable difference that I'm not sure if people have noticed right away is that it makes a goblin, it gives that goblin haste, and it makes the goblin attack. It does not say all your goblins have to attack every turn. So if you make a goblin one turn, attack with it, it lives somehow, and then you untap, make another goblin. Only that goblin you made that turn has to attack. The one you made last turn does not have to attack again.
No.
So that is somewhat relevant. This card, though, it having mentor makes you want to attack with it, and it being a 2/2 makes you not want to attack with it. So there's like kind of some things going wrong there. That being said, this card's like a 4 in limited. This is like a bomb in limited, just nuts. Always take it. And this is mostly constructed talk. And that being said, I also think this card's like a 3 to 3.5 in standard. Like, I think this card's quite good. I think it might just be a sideboard card, though, because these kind of cards are always very good in the play, where you can play it, make a goblin attack, they play their 3 drop to block, whatever, you untap, kill their guy, and then they get to make another goblin and attack and mentor. Like, that kind of tempo-y on the play, you get to your turn 4 before they do. Those kind of, like, trade-offs you have, that's where this card really shines. But on the draw, it's way worse.
I would make the argument that since no matter what, if you're playing like 3 games, that you would play post sideboard, you're gonna do at least one on the play. That the upside of 50% chance of having the play twice is worth it to just main deck it. Like I don't really get the argument of not main decking it, but just because it's better on the play. Like, just because it's better on the play doesn't mean it's bad on the draw. Like, obviously it's significantly worse, but most cards are. I think that this card is very, very good, and it's going to see a lot of constructed play for the entirety of its constructed life. And it's a 4 in constructed. And in limited. I mean...
No.
I think this card has legacy implications in the mono red prison deck. I think it could see play replacing the aforementioned prior goblin, and I think just because the goblins don't have to attack after the first time that they have attacked is pretty good for it. And then you could set up if they aren't able to block, you can set up an alpha strike at the end of that. So
we also talked
4 and a 3.5 for limited and constructed.
We talked on an empty board, like, and it go fishing with this card, it kills in the same amount of time as Rabblemaster, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's 1, 5,
It's 1, 5,
7.
Yeah.
Dead. Okay, yeah, and as opposed to 1 to 1/7
No,
or
6.
1/6/8 dead. Yeah, 1/6. So like in the games, I kind of really pay the toll that this card could replace Goblin Roundmaster in Legacy. I don't. I think it's like close. I don't know which one's better, but it being able to kill, like when you go, like turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Blood Moon, turn 3 this, and they just like you're just trying to kill them before they find their answer to your lock pieces. That's like. Although this is also nice that like if you have a bridge out, you can still. Oh, I guess you can attack Wild Master through because you attack, then it gets a trigger. Okay, never mind. That doesn't work. But this card, yeah, the fact that it doesn't make all your goblins attack every turn makes it possibly better in Legacy.
Interesting. Is there a goblin deck in Standard?
That's up in the air still. I think that no. I don't like the goblin payoffs enough. I like the goblin cards.
Right.
But I don't like War Chief and I don't like Trashmaster. I don't think I want to play with those cards. But there are like a lot of goblins I'm putting in my red decks already, like just because they're good cards.
Right.
Goblin Chamberlain, we talked about the 1-drop earlier. Rigging Runner is another good 1-drop that happens to be a goblin. Fanatical Firebrand's a good 1-drop that happens to be a goblin. Like Siege Gang Commander is a good card. Like I don't mind playing that card. That card's fine.
Right.
But like the other cards that really care about goblins to like make sacrifices to maybe cut some of the other really good red cards like Rekindling Phoenix or Aurelia or we'll get to Runaway Steam Kid later. Like that card, like I don't think that they're enough to make cutting those cards worth it.
No. All right. Maniacal Rage. 1 in a red for a common aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't block.
I hate this card.
I've seen some people just absolutely kill people with this card on Worlds coverage. Spoiler alert. Sorry, Tyler.
Yeah. No, I already saw it.
Okay.
I was just gonna say I hate this card. That being said, I think this card's not unplayable. I think that this card is Mentor makes this card pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you can put it onto your Mentor creature and attack, and then like Mentor onto something else that maybe your opponent didn't think you'd be able to Mentor onto, like this all of a sudden is a huge tempo play that even if they untap and kill it, it's still worth it because you're pushing through a bunch of damage.
Yep.
You're like getting multiple power across multiple bodies with Mentor. This card's quite good in like specifically Boros.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that playing a 1-drop and then playing the 1-drop Goblin and then playing this onto it on turn 2, it's gonna be really good. Especially because if you're on the play, they can't blow you out. There's no 1 mana thing that will be able to kill it. I don't think.
They can
No.
cast Dizzying Lights and give it a -3, -0.
Yeah, but then that's actively good for you because then even if they kill it or bounce your guy, you're still even on cards because they spent a card to like negate this.
And you're up on your opponent because your opponent has a Dizzying Lights in their deck.
That's right. There is a 2-mana bounce spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And yeah.
where do you guys
But
have
if
this?
they're
at?
gonna spend that on a 1-drop, I'm like super cool with that.
They're kind of spending it on a 2-drop,
They're-
but
Yeah, they're spending it on your maniacal rage, not your
Sure.
creature.
I would like to bring up
oh, I think you cut out.
implications of this. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can also use it as a almost semi-pacifism if you're going to be attacking for lethal, if they think that they have left back enough of blockers late game. So it
That
does
is a
have
good
some
point.
applications in the late game as well as in the early game with your creatures. So it's
It is
not
a-
just an offensive, but it's also a kind of defensive as well.
Oh yeah, it's offensive in a different way.
Yeah.
It can be a 2-mana target creature can't block this turn sorcery, but again, you're hopefully trying to end the game that turn because otherwise then they untap and you gave their guy +2/+2.
Yeah.
But that is a good point. Like the Minotaur guy that had Bestow from whatever set that was.
Yep.
that was a relevant thing with that card, was that you would bestow your opponent's creature instead of your own sometimes, because it said that the creature couldn't block.
Yep.
That is a relevant line of text.
Definitely.
So I think this card, all being said, is a 2 unlimited. It's like really, it's essentially a gold card because you really only want it in like the aggressive Boros decks.
Right.
I'm at a 2 as well.
That is a 2.5. I know that's a little bit shocking. I don't typically like aggressive decks, but in the aggressive decks, this card is, I think, just really good.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2.5-ish, I think. It's really good in the decks that it's really good in. That's
Right.
about it.
Maximize Velocity. 1 red for a sorcery. It's a common. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. It also has Jumpstart.
This is one of the spells in the Izzet deck where like you just want spells to be spells.
Yep.
This card does slightly more than nothing, like, which is not saying much, but it does slightly more than nothing. Costs 1 mana and has Jumpstart for limited. So really only in Izzet card. I guess maybe you can play it in Boros to like give, if you have like some bigger mentor creatures or something that don't have haste, you can give it haste or whatever. Also like pump spells with mentor is pretty good, and this does give plus power. That's nice. Real quick, I want to say this card, I would not be stunned if this card saw some standard play.
Interesting.
Mostly in some kind of red-blue Curious Obsession style deck.
Okay.
This card just kind of reminds me of a card called Expedite,
Oh, yeah.
which was a single red for an instant that gave a creature haste and you drew a card. This gives plus power, like gives +1/+1 and haste, and has jumpstart, so you can do it twice.
It's almost like a
and-
draw card.
Yeah, you have to discard a card for the second time, so it's like, But if you discard a land, like this is going to be a like lower to the ground because again, it's a trail of, or what's the card? What's the blue curiosity card?
Is it not just Curiosity? I thought Curiosity was
No.
the standard.
Curious Obsession.
No, Curious Obsession. That's the one. Yeah, and like in some kind of deck with that, like this card could see constructed play because of that. In
Yeah, I
some blue
think
red
that-
aggressive deck.
I think that the War Fury or whatever it is, there's like a one
Fury.
Warlord's Fury. Yeah, I think that they already have a lot of like 1 mana spells, and Warlord Fury cantrips. Like this doesn't cantrip.
No, but
It
gives
does have
haste.
Jumpstart, so it kind of is like a second card, but you do have to discard a card for it. So again, it's just, I don't know. I feel like you already have a lot of these like 1-drops that you're going to be using, and I don't think any of them rotated.
I think that this could be better than Warlord's Fury just because Warlord's Fury gave first strike, whereas this gives haste. There's another one that gives trample and draws a card, but I think haste is better than first strike or trample.
Right, but the thing is that none of them, or this one doesn't draw a card, and the others do. So I think that's the main thing, is that it's not, you're doing it just because it's a cantrip, not because you actually want the other effect.
Yeah, but like the you want the cantrip, right? Because you just want access to more spells because you want to keep casting spells, and this lets you keep casting spells
How?
because that's jumpstart.
Yeah, but you only get to cast 1 more spell, and it costs a card.
Yeah,
So,
but like
you
you're gonna
can't-
draw
you
access
can't
lands
have-
from that spell.
No, but you could. Yeah, but like you could have 0 cards in hand, and then just cantrip and a cantrip and a cantrip with that deck. And you can't do that with this card.
Sure.
All right, so what do you guys rate it?
Unplayable in every format.
Really? I think this card's fine in limited.
I don't like it in limited, but I just don't like to play these kind of cards in limited myself. So
Yeah. I've got it like as a 1.25 in limited.
I have this as a 1.5 to maybe even a 2. Like I think that the red decks want, like both Boros and Izzet want this card.
I'm at a 1.5 and a 1 in constructed.
I just don't think it's worth a card.
Mm.
I'd be all over it if it drew a card like the other ones, but
So this card be nuts if it drew a card.
Ornery?
jeez.
Is that how I pronounce this word? Ornery?
yep.
Ornery, yeah.
Ornery Goblin. 1 and a red for a Goblin Warrior. It's a 2/1 for a common, and it says whenever Ornery Goblin blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 1 damage to that creature.
This card's pretty good for the Boros and maybe even the Izzet decks for like a bear, just because it basically has 3 power.
Another incidental pinger, kind of. It's not targeted. You have control over if your guy gets pinged or not.
It is like necessary to. It does kill a 1 toughness blocker before it gets the damage onto it. So.
Yes, that is important.
Yep.
This does not get chump blocked by a 1/1 token.
Yep.
Right.
It gets blocked by 2 1/1 tokens though.
It does, but I think you're fine with that.
Does it?
Yeah, actually,
Yes.
if there's multiple blockers, would it happen multiple times?
Hold
It
on,
doesn't say by
blocked
one or
by
more
a
creature.
Oh no, yeah, it does.
Yeah, so it
Blocked by a
would kill
creature.
all.
Yeah,
the
it does
tokens.
one to everything. Yeah, it does kill the tokens, so it's not.
So does that make it way better then?
No, this card is a bear. I will rate it as a 2 because it is a bear.
I think it's
2
more than
for-
a bear. I think
for
it's like
bear?
a 2.5. Like I think this is better than all the other bears. You can't rate it
I
the same. But it's
don't-
better than all the other ones.
I don't think it's that much better because I don't think the ping ability is that relevant.
What? There's so many one power things. Like
One
it just they
toughness
can't. Yeah, that's what I meant. They can't block it. That's insane.
Until it gets,
Also, they
I
can't
think-
attack into it. They can't attack into it. Like the 3/1 can't. Like if you play this on turn 2 on the draw against the Boros deck that has like the 3/1, like
Mhm.
they can't attack with that 3/1.
They can if they maximize velocity.
Oh my god.
and they can
Get
attack
out of
just
here.
to get the mentor trigger onto something smaller and just throw away.
Yeah,
But I mean,
But
that's
that's not
fine with
with
I'm
that.
cool with that.
Like,
I
yeah.
am so okay with that, and that's why.
maybe this card is better. Okay, you convinced me. I'll put this card as 2.5.
There you go.
Liam, what did you think this was?
I like a 2.
And that's where I'm at on it. So
Yeah.
I think it's a 2.5.
Yeah. I mean,
I would be surprised if it's better than I expect. So
all right. Risk factor. 2 and a red for an instant. It is a rare. Target opponent may have risk factor deal 4 damage to them. If that player doesn't, you draw 3 cards. Jumpstart.
All right, so we're gonna play this, and we're gonna play Sword Point Diplomacy. We're gonna draw a lot of cards or do a lot of damage to our opponent in our burn deck, and it's gonna be great.
all right. So the format where this is going to be a thing is Commander, like, or in like 2-headed giant Commander, where you're trying to just have one person get whittled down, and then you just force them to let you draw the cards, and it's an instant and lets you draw or do it again. So
Don't players share life total into a giant?
they do. Do they? I guess I don't know about
I
play without a Commander.
don't remember how 2-headed giant works.
Yeah, I can't
I'm
remember.
pretty sure players share life total.
They
I'm
can.
know
pretty
in
sure
regular-
players share life total.
HG it does.
200.
I don't know about Commander.
They don't in Commander, but in 2-headed giant, you do share life totals, but the 2 entities are separate people. So it's at each opponent, but this one doesn't. So
I'm pretty sure in my contract it said specifically that I don't have to talk about Commander when talking about cards. So,
yeah, I don't. I don't
That's
even
where this
think,
card comes into play.
I don't even think it's he's playing Commander. I don't think Browbeats he's playing Commander. I mean, I think. I don't know, the fact that it's instant
Not
makes it
everyone
better
has
than...
$1,000 deck in Commander. You have to
This
think about
is so much better than Browbeat.
Yeah. But Browbeat is also just not a card I want to be playing. I mean,
alright, so
anything that makes your opponent make a decision, they're going to choose the decision that is best for them. So if they're at 20
Unless
life...
they don't have a choice.
What do you mean? So what if they're at 3?
Dude, I'm taking a 3-mana instant draw 3 cards. Like, it's so good.
Kui brings up a very good point. You don't share life totals in Kamigawa block Pauper Tiny Leaders, which is probably about the same level of playable as Commander.
it. Praise be to Kui.
Praise be to Kui.
alright, so with all that out of the way, I think this card could see playing constructed in standard.
Yeah?
Yes. It being 3 mana is like, it's like, I wish this card was 2.5 mana. But it being 3 mana still, in a like mono red deck that has a lot of burn, I could see playing this as a 1 or 2 of.
Okay.
Like I'll be interested to see if this card makes it into Flame Account as a 1 or 2 of, basically.
Would it double?
I would not
that?
be sure. Yeah, so like again, in that deck that just has a lot of burn and like you're just super like all your cards just deal incidental damage. Like your Viashino Pyromancers just come in and deal 2, and you have a bunch of shocks and Wizard Lightnings and Lightning Strikes and stuff. Where like both decisions are effectively the same thing. This card's pretty good. Like 3 mana, 4 damages, like pretty good in the burn deck, in a like low to the ground mono red burn deck.
Yeah.
So I think that this card could see play. Same thing in limited. If you are a super low to the ground Boros deck, I think it's actually worse in limited just because there's less burn spells in limited.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
There's if your Selesnya opponent is stabilized at 2 life and have a big board, and you cast this, they just let you draw 3 cards, and you draw your 3 like random dudes, and they just like whatever. I have the board locked up, and you can't win from here. So I actually think this card's like pretty bad in limited. Even if you have the right deck for it, I'll have this as like a 1.5 in limited. But in constructed, I'll have it as a 2.5 because I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yep.
Interesting.
I think it's a solid 2 in limited, 2 in constructed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never personally played with cards like this before, so I have to like just try it out and see how it is. So I'm withholding a number on this one.
Dude, black, red, burn. It's gonna happen.
All right,
I
I'll
definitely
one
have
up you
never
on that
played
one.
Ruby
What
Modern.
about mono red Tron in Modern? So you can just Minesweeper them and then cast Risk Factor and 4 them, or draw 3
Wow.
cards. Yeah, because I mean you
Wow.
Make
control
sure you
their
want to draw
decisions.
3 cards.
I mean, I don't know. You 3 mana draw 3 cards and red Tron seems pretty great.
What a world.
I know. Rubble Belt Boar. 3 in a red for a 3/3. It's a boar. It's a common. When Rubble Belt Boar enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
I think this
So
card's
this card's
actually really good.
Yeah, it's obviously good with Mentor. Like that's like where the obvious thing it goes with is that it gives your Mentor creature +2/+0. So then it becomes much more than just +2/+0.
Definitely.
I think it's just fine. Like it's a format of 3/3. 3/3s are pretty big in this format, as we've seen. We've seen a lot of 2/2s and 2/1s and such. So 3/3 is like a decent body.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I've got it like a 2.75.
I have it like a 2, maybe a 2.5.
I think it's a 2.5. Yep.
I'm at a 2.5 as well.
Yeah, maybe I'm
It's
overrating
better in
it a little bit.
Boros than anything else. It's like better with Mentor creatures. Like it's if you have Mentor creatures, you're gonna want this card a little bit higher. If you don't, you want this card a little bit lower. Like
Nope. All right, here we go. Runaway Steamkin. Runaway
Wife.
baby. 1 in a red for a creature elemental. It is a rare. It is a 1/1, and it says whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on Runaway Steamkin. Remove 3 +1/+1 counters from Runaway Steamkin. Add red, red, red.
you misread this card real quick. You said it was a 1/1. It's a 4/4.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a 4/4. You're correct. It is a
Card
2
is
mana
2 and a
4/4.
4/4. It is really good.
Yeah, this card's fantastic.
So, I'll talk about limited later because limited is actually kind of interesting. But in constructed, this card is in mono red and Boros. This card is like the best 2-drop.
Are you talking about modern or standard?
Standard. I don't think this card sees play in modern.
Did you see, like, there was someone who made, like, a deck that you can kill someone with it?
Turn 1, you can kill somebody with it, technically.
With
Yeah, I don't know. That deck, I've heard people talk about that deck, and most of what I've heard is that this deck is bad and just a meme. But I don't know. I feel like most of like the degenerate decks in modern started out as a meme. Like KCI started out as a meme. Hollow One started out as a meme. Like remember when Ken Yukihiro played Hollow One at the Pro Tour or whatever it was? Well, I think it was a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And like no one thought the deck was real. Yeah, no one thought the deck was real during that tournament. They're like, oh, he's playing this like weird like tier 3 deck. Like modern's just so weird and degenerate that like it's hard to say for sure if a deck's gonna be good or not. but in standard, for sure, this card is very good.
I don't like it.
I'm telling you, I'm not. This is like not even me stating an opinion. It's like it's a fact. This card is nuts in standard.
I don't think so, dude. I think it just dies. I don't know, man. You know what's better than a 2-mana 4/4? A 5-mana 6/6 with flying and trample.
I disagree.
But if a 5-mana 6/6 just dies, how does this thing not just die? I just
2 mana.
That doesn't mean it doesn't just die. There's more things that kill this than the other one.
Yeah, but this thing deals damage.
What? No, it doesn't.
Look.
What are you talking about? What do you mean it deals damage? What does that mean?
It attacks.
So does the 5/5 or the 6/6.
Yeah.
For 5. It
Are
also
you
has
trying to
flying
tell me that
and
there's
trample.
no difference between 5 mana and 2 mana? Is that your argument here?
No, my argument is that they both just die. So if the 6/6 just dies, then so does this, and therefore neither are good. I'm using your argument against you. If you think that the 5-mana 6/6 is not good, then you can't think that this card is good. It's the same logic.
2 mana.
There's more removal spells that kill this though. It doesn't do anything the turn you play it. You can't just play this on turn 2.
Why not?
Because it just dies to everything. If you play this on turn 2 and then I Chain Whirler, what do? You just die.
If I'm on the draw?
Yeah.
I don't play it on the draw, then on the turn 2.
Okay, so are you only gonna play it on the play? You're gonna
I
sideboard
play it on
it out?
turn 3 and play this in a shock. Make it a 2/2.
Okay, so it still dies to every 1-mana removal spell or 2-mana removal spell. I don't see how this card is crazy in standard. I think it has more applications outside of standard than it does in standard. This thing's just gonna die every time. And if not, then there's like other problems with whatever deck you have is just not good. It's gonna die to a lot of things every time.
I think that you're underestimating how playing more spells than your opponent.
What?
Like, in a deck that has a bunch of 1-drops and 2-drops, it's better when your opponent against a deck that has an opponent that has 5-drops.
Yeah, but if you're all in on this one card, and then like you're playing worse cards because you want this card to maximize value, you're going to get blown out.
But, like, you don't have to play worse cards. You're going to play these 1-drops anyway if you're, like, an aggressive red deck.
That's not necessarily true.
And you're not
I think you have to play more 1-drops with this card than the regular red deck would.
But imagine in Flame of Keld, and you won't even be going all in on something like this. It just rewards you for playing cards you're already playing. Your Lava Runners, your Shocks, your Wizard's Lightning. It's rewarding you for all of those types of cards. And then post combat, if you want to, you can just remove the counters and just like play a Chain Whirl or play a Flame of Keld. Like, this card it's a modal spell, and it can just get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, but if okay, so I agree with you that it is a powerful card. But I don't see how you could say that this card is powerful and then say that a 5-mana 6/6 flying trample.
You're going down a slippery slope here. You're going down a really poor argument, and this is
How
not
is
what
my
we should be
argument
spending our
poor?
time.
I'm using a poor argument to say that this one is also poor.
So you're saying this is poor because someone else challenged you on your opinion earlier. That's a poor argument.
No, the original argument is poor. Is what I'm trying.
Do you want me to explain?
If that original one was poor, then this one's poor as well.
Exactly. That's the whole point I'm making.
And that's the point I'm making. This is an unneeded conversation that needs to be had right now.
Okay. I'll stop talking.
You guys can have this in your free time.
Also, if your opponent's using a removal spell on this instead of like a Chain Whirler or something with just a little bit stronger, I think you're happy with that trade as well. Like, I think you're okay if this thing eats a removal spell before you invest a lot of spells into it. Also, you're not even really investing a lot of spells into it because you're going to be playing those cards anyway.
That's fair.
So, real quick, trading a 5-mana spell for a 2-mana spell is a huge downside. Like,
when did I say I'm using a 5-mana removal spell? I'm going to use a Lightning Strike.
No, I know. I'm go with me on this. I'm saying that's why I don't like when 5-drops just die. Because you can use a 2-mana spell to kill a 5-mana spell.
The only one that can kill that demon that for 2 mana is Justice Strike and
Cast down
Trophy.
and cast down.
Sure.
Those are going to be very highly played cards. And seal away.
Well, Seal Away isn't right away, so I don't think that's necessarily inaccurate.
But like, what
There's
is
a lot
what
of
do
times
you,
where a Seal Away might not actually work a lot of times because by that point you're going to be untapped. So if you're a blue-black deck, you could have counter spells.
okay, but there's not like trading 2 mana for 5 mana is a big deal. Trading 2 mana for 2 mana or 2 mana for even 1 mana sometimes is much less of a blowout.
I understand that it's like worse, but that doesn't mean that the card isn't powerful.
But
I'm
that
just
is my
saying
point.
that if no, that doesn't change the power level of the card because obviously if you have a really really powerful 2-mana removal spell, everything's gonna look like crap. That was the whole point of my argument is that this card looks good, but you also have to then say that the 5-mana 6/6 looks good.
No, I think that you're trying to skip past the mana costs.
You equated this to being a 2-mana 4/4.
Yes.
Okay, so
Very
if that
often
is,
it is.
right. So if that is how you equate this card, then a 5-mana 6/6 is also good. That was my argument. If you
I think
equate
you're
it on
trying
the
to
basis
say-
of it being a 2-mana 4.
I think you're trying to say that because Tarmogoyf is good, Thragtusk must also be good in Modern.
No, that's not even close
That's
because
the
a
argument
5
I'm
mana
making.
That actually.
a 5-mana 5/3 is not a 5-mana 6/6 flying trample.
All right, sorry. Because Tarmogoyf is good, then the demon has to be good as well.
In standard?
No, in Modern.
No,
What's
it's a
the
different
difference?
format. It's a
So
different format.
why?
See, this is where your
Why?
argument's falling apart, though.
Explain the differences.
You're allowed to play 5-drops in standard. It's really hard to play 5-drops in modern.
Why? Why is it hard to play 5 in Modern?
Efficiency.
That's my point.
But the
That-
efficiency is fine in standard, is what I'm saying. Is the power level of removal spells and the way that standard works is that the 5-drop is fine.
If you get something out of it.
It has an activated ability that you can use right away.
Yeah. I think that's the part where we disagree on, is how
So what
much
do you
the
have for
pay 2
rating,
life should be
Ian?
relevant.
What?
What do you have for a rating?
I think this card is fine. This card's like a 3. I just wanted to make a point that if you equate this card to just being a big card for its casting costs, then you have to say that the other big card for its casting costs is also good.
But it's not a 5-mana 10/10.
All right.
Like a Lord.
So this
Danger.
card is a 4 in constructed and a probably a 3.5 in limited. You have to be really heavy red for this card to be good in limited.
Yeah, I've got it like as a 3 in limited.
And any modern applications besides the meme deck?
Maybe. I don't know. Meme decks could be real decks in modern. Modern's a crapshoot.
Yep, pretty much. Aaron, you got any numbers?
Yeah,
I'm
so-
lower on constructed. I think it's like maybe a 3, just because of spell availability, but it could be higher than that. So,
Gotcha. I think these next few will be a little less controversial. Smelt
Probably.
Lord Minotaur. 2 and a red for a Minotaur warrior. It is a 2/3, and it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn.
So we talked about earlier with the 3/2 for 3 that how a 2/3 for 3 would be better than a 3/2 for 3 because of Mentor, and this card's a 2/3 for 3.
Yep.
So it is better. Also, like, I think that they tagged on this ability so it'd be good in Izzet and Boros, basically.
Right.
So it's good in Izzet and Boros.
Yep.
This card's a 2.5
I think this
good.
card's like a 3 in limited. I think that you want a couple of these to just kind of swing past the opponent.
Yep. Street Riot. 4 and a red for an enchantment. It is uncommon, and it says, as long as it's your turn, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample.
Important flavor text.
They said obey and you'll be happy. They said you'll be safe. But we're not safe. We're not happy. And we will not obey. Domri Raid.
That's right. Domri Raid.
Domri
Confirmed.
Raid. Domri Raid confirmed.
okay.
Cool Planeswalker next set. You heard it here. Probably not first.
Last.
Pro Tour champ.
So this, I think that's the most interesting about this card. Weirdly enough, I think this card might be better in Izzet than in Boros, because I think Izzet just has a little bit more flyers than Boros does. That being said, I don't think this card's good.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think so. It's
plus
like,
1/0 and trample for 5 mana is not good. I'll put it as
It's
a
all
1.
creatures though. It's not like one creature.
Yeah, I
it's
know,
a
but
5
like,
mana enchantment. It's just not very good. I have it like as a 0.5.
yeah.
I mean, if it's a mini overrun over the course of like 3 or 4 turns, I think this card is going to see more value than what
But
you
it
guys
doesn't
are
help your
working on.
guys survive. That's the problem. Like, Overrun helped your guys survive.
True, but if you mentored up your guys and they've gotten bigger butts, assuming you're playing the 1/3s, the other things, like,
Yeah, but like if you mentored up your guys and your guys are all bigger than theirs, you don't need this card. Your guys are all bigger than theirs.
but you mean if they're playing the tokens deck and they just keep jumping every day, every time they attack, you know,
Yeah, I guess.
this will let them get through the damage to win. So I think this will see more play than people think. It's only gonna be a 1-up, but I'm definitely thinking this is like a 2.
Wow. Wow. All right.
There's a Gruul card that was in, I believe, the original or the second Ravnica. That was
That card gave Menace.
it Menace?
It was
I couldn't
4
remember
mana.
exactly what it gave, but I knew it was like +1/+0 and something. So
And you
I
could,
think it also might have gave haste as well.
I think it had, if you sacrifice it, all your creatures gain haste, maybe?
Gruul War Chant.
No.
Does that sound familiar?
I thought
Yeah,
I
it's
thought we
Gruul
were
War
talking
Chant is the card. No, you're talking about Fires of Yalmaya.
Yeah.
He's talking about Gruul War Chant.
Each attacking creature you control gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked by 2 or more creatures.
about- Right.
Yeah, it gets Menace. Menace is way better than Trample. It is also
That
4
card
mana.
was incredibly good. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's, like I said, it is 4 mana.
Yeah, I think this card's much worse.
Yep. And I'm not gonna play any street rides. 0.
Yeah.
Fair.
Sure Strike. 1 in a red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. This is
card's great.
This is a great combat trick. It's even good pre-combat trick. You can main phase it to level up your mentor creatures and make them bigger so you can mentor onto smaller creatures. This card's just super good in this format, I think.
Yep. I think it's pretty good in both Izzet and Boros.
Yep. I mean, I'm thinking
We've
it's like
seen not a lot of Comet Tricks, and like, so I think Comet Tricks are a premium because I think they seem good in the set based on the power and toughnesses. So
I think they're
I think it's
primarily in
fun.
red and green.
yeah,
for the most part. I'm thinking this card's like a 3.
it's still just a combat trick. I'll put it as 2.5, whereas normally in like a normal set, I think I'd have this as a 2. So
Yeah, I agree. You don't really want like a lot of these. I think 2 is probably the max I would run.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
like a 2.5.
Yeah.
And there aren't very many instances, so that bumps it up. So
yeah, it's better in this set than it has been previously.
Mhm.
This is a card that's been reprinted a couple times as well.
Yeah, definitely. Torch Courier. 1 red mana for a goblin. It's a common. It is a 1/1. It has haste and sacrifice Torch Courier. Another target creature gains haste until end of turn.
I feel like this is just worse than the ones where it was like a 1-drop with like tap, give a creature haste. But
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
You're
it
gonna
is.
really want the haste to play this card.
what if your opponent has a Thalia Heretic Cathar in play and you really want to give something haste?
True
You can't
that.
tap it with this on the battlefield.
For real though,
Well-
this card is worse, I think, than the white 1-drops that we saw. I think this is, of the Boros 1-drops we've seen, this is probably the worst one.
Mhm.
That being said, it's still like the Boros decks do want 1-drops for sure, and this one has haste, which is like relevant and can give a bigger creature later on haste. So it's not dead because it can just turn itself in when it becomes irrelevant for another small effect. I would not be shocked if this showed up in standard eventually. It is a 1 mana 1/1 with haste, which I don't think. I think that Fanatical Firebrand has shown us that you don't need that much more if you are a 1 mana 1/1 with haste.
That's fair.
That being said, I think it's worse than Fanatical Firebrand, but it is a goblin with haste that costs 1 mana. So, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it at a 0 for everything. I'm not gonna play this card ever.
I think it's probably like a 1.5. In the right deck, you may want it. Being able to just randomly give one of your bigger bombs or one of your bigger mentor creatures haste in limited, probably fine. I mean, you'll probably play one if your deck's right, but not super exciting.
I bet you'll play this, Ian.
I think it's a solid 2 minimum. It goes well with mentor creatures. Like
I have it as 1.5. But
anytime that you have a 1-drop that is at least semi-playable, and there's ways to make it bigger at 2 and 3 permanently, I think you're gonna want to play any 1-drop you can get that is semi-reasonable. So
It also has haste for Path of Metal. Did we ever?
No.
Okay. No?
No. Okay. This is not. Half a Metal has some good options. This is not good enough for that deck.
Fair enough. Alright, last red card. Wojek Bodyguard. 2 and a red for a human soldier. It's a common. It is a 3/3, and it has a mentor, and it says Wojek Bodyguard can't attack or block alone.
This card's awesome.
This card is so good in limited.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean,
I think that the can't attack alone is almost gonna always be irrelevant because you want to mentor something anyways.
Exactly.
Yep.
This is the best mentor common, I think, and I don't think it's that close. This card is very good. It has 3 toughness as well. So, as again, we saw a lot of 2/1s and 1/1s and stuff. So this, you can attack this and mentor on and be confident that this won't just get eaten.
very, very true. Yeah, so for me, this is kind of an easy 3.
Yeah, that was a 3.
Awesome.
No standard.
Well.
Yeah, I think 3 in limited and 0 in standard.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up the red cards. Does anybody have any closing thoughts on red?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Seems aggressive.
Yeah, red's very aggressive. I think Boris.
Red rocks.
Yeah, Boris is going to probably be one of the premier decks of this format, and you're just going to get Browntown sometime.
Browntown.
Yum. Nice.
Well, that'll wrap up the YouTube video here. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in and tuning us out. This set looks awesome. You should definitely comment, subscribe, tell us if we are Deece Plus, if we're pretty Deece, just rate us on how Deece we are. We want to definitely hear from you guys. If you would like to watch live on Twitch, I also broadcast at twitch.tv/WLSAC. I've got some pretty rockin' emotes, including the Owen Wilson wow, which is why you saw Owen Wilson's face pop up every now and then, and some of us doing wow impressions during various parts of said podcast. It is September, so if you're lucky enough to get gifted a sub in my chat, you can continue that sub for a lowly $1, and I still get all of the benefits from that. Like I said, thank you guys. We'll see you guys for green later. Hello and welcome to the Pretty Deece podcast. That's not the name of the podcast, is it?
Nope.
Start over.
All right, starting over.
Boo.
Boo. Boo.
You just got shunned, dog.
I know. God, I got booed on
I
my
wish I
own
had a
podcast.
shame bell right now.
Jeez, booed on my own podcast. Okay, welcome to the Deece Plus podcast. We are going to be continuing our set review of Guilds of Ravnica.